Okay, now
Say hi.
yeah. No.
Oh, she's gonna be pissed at me.
Mom, open the door.
Come on. Oh,
Oh my
she
gosh.
hasn't played with her toy in so long. That makes me happy.
Ma'am, you're so cute. Hi, welcome to Tipsy Book Talks. I'm Rianne.
And I'm Taylor.
And today we're going to be reading The Handmaid's Tale.
Yay! We're
And
so sad.
with this, we're going to be drinking an amber ale.
We were planning to do the Handmaid's Ale from the Tequila Mockingbird book, but we really didn't want to pay for all the ingredients because I knew that I probably would never drink the alcohol again if I was being completely honest. So we're going easy today.
We're going to
go cheap and easy.
Is this an amber ale?
Yay!
Oh, this is like
Oh god, it smells like
like
piss.
a Bud Light.
I
Okay,
hate
well,
beer.
sadly, I thought it was a different beer. Oh well.
Cheers.
Cheers! What's this? Yeah, this kind of just tastes like a Bud Light. Yeah, that's okay.
I hate beer. So today we are going to be doing a non-spoiler section and a spoiler section. So first let's start with the non-spoiler section. Rayanne, tell us a little bit about the book.
So this book takes place in somewhere we can tell. Seems like it's supposed to be meant in the 80s, but the show takes place like now. So it's supposed to be near future. So it's basically taken over by like a Quaker, like Puritan style, like thought, and it's supposed to simplify America, but it basically has a hierarchy for women. Everything down to men own everything, women are kind of just there. And it's told from one handmaid who kind of illegally writes everything. And you find out that it's actually a lot of things are now illegal for women to do. They can't read, write, or do
Smoke, drink alcohol,
Yeah.
have jobs.
This book definitely is a little bit harsher, not really meant for anyone younger than like probably 13. Which realistically, if you're under 13 and you're watching this video, you should probably leave anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a heavy, hard-hitting book. And if anybody's seen the Hulu series, it's about just as hard. It's definitely written, not really letter style wise of like, dear so-and-so, but she writes it not really divulging every single aspect, but at least certain things that kind of need to be said about what's going on that aren't covered in news outlets.
So what would you rate it?
I would honestly rate this book probably like 4.5. I want to rate it at 5, but I'm like, this made me so sad. I had to take so many breaks while reading this because I just got so like saddened by all of it, and it's scary because it feels like it could happen tomorrow.
I rated it 4 stars too because there is so much that feels so real about it. And like I read her historical notes too, and like the big thing about it is like she didn't invent anything. Like
Nope.
all of this, everything happened at some point in the past.
Yep.
Nothing was made up. All of it takes root at some points in history, and though it doesn't all happen at once, she borrows from different events.
Yep.
Which is like so terrifying that all of this stuff has happened at some point. I also thought that there was something so like beautifully like human about it, just the way that like not the author, the main character, the person who's narrating it, like the way that she explains things, the way that she is talking to someone, and like just like the way that she feels.
I definitely want to start really talking about this, so we're gonna go ahead and
we're gonna go
skip on
spoilers.
into the spoilers. So if you
Bye.
haven't read it, definitely pause, go read it.
Hey, welcome!
Welcome to the spoiler section. So, real quick, before we get into all the hard-hitting things that we want to talk about, let's quickly talk about our favorites.
My favorite was probably, I have a few. My main one was probably Moira. Mainly because, like, I just felt so much for her. Because, first of all, she was put as a handmaiden. And then she was put as a prostitute. So it's like...
A Jezebel.
A Jezebel. To be, like, a lesbian and to have to, like, sleep with men on the daily, like, I just felt so bad for her. There was one point where I literally, like, started crying. And I was like, And then the second one that I really liked was Cora, because I felt so bad for Cora. She was like the neighborhood grandma, but she was like the only person in the house that genuinely like liked the main character.
I feel like with Cora, though, it also was her genuinely looking out for all of the handmaidens because she's like, I could be in their position.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And I'm so grateful for that. But I also want to make sure that they're as comfortable as they can be for what the situation is. So
Yeah.
I think she's great. Mine were Moira as well, because unlike Taylor, I actually watched the series before I read the book. Just like in the show, she's just as so amazing, and she has that like no given attitude. She's like, we're gonna get through this, we're gonna do what we can, like we're gonna get out.
We're going to get out, man.
And I love her. And my second favorite is June, because I'm like, just living through her life and seeing what happens, I'm like, ooh girl, that is so hard and you are so strong. I cannot stand, moving on to least favorite, I can't stand Janine. She annoys the out of me. She annoys the out of me in the show. But I was like, she's just this person who you can tell, like, they're like, oh, we need you to care about this. And she's like, this is the only thing I want. This is the only thing I need. And I'm like, shut up, Janine. Nobody cares. Like, I can't with her. But I also can't with Serena Joy, because I was like, she literally sets all of this up from the get-go as like, this is a simpler life. And now that she has it, she hates it. And I'm like, well, yeah, dumb like, everybody would have that. And I mean, the commander's on the list, but it's...
Yeah. I actually kind of felt for Janine. Like, I don't know. She literally had mental health issues where she was... I feel like she wasn't strong enough. But I think that my least favorite characters, obviously the commander, mainly because he's such a self-serving, like, man. Oh. But he knows exactly how to manipulate people into, like, thinking that he's somebody else. Like, when he first invites her to play Scrabble, like, we all know what he wants. We all know what he's doing. But he's literally, like, building up this whole entire persona that he's, like, the nice guy. I hate men who have to say that they are the nice guy. Like, it's so fake. It is so fake, and she sees right through it. And it just, like, kills me every time. Yeah. And then I feel like Serena Joy is just, like, the picture of, like, white feminism. Like, she's, like, a person who's, like, if it does not circulate around me, then it does not matter. Like, she is so, because she is, like, a wife and in a better situation, like, she is so evil to the people who are, like, around her. Like, she is so evil to the main character when she first comes in. And I get it. But it's, like, at the same time, you experienced life before all of this happened. So, like, what changed so much in your life that you became like this? Or did you always treat other women like that?
Oh, yeah. So when Offred, June, comes in, she's like, he's my husband first, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're going to literally believe that this...
He's trying to steal your man?
Yeah, I'm like, you think this woman's trying to steal him? She doesn't even want to be here. None of these women want to be here. And you think that these ladies are trying to, like, steal your husband? Like, it's women that are just like, no, all these women are after my man and I hate her for it. I'm like, you understand that the problem probably isn't with the million women that come into your life. It's probably the one man going after all of these women, right? Like, the fact that the commander even says that he's like, before all of this, women had to wear different outfits to try and persuade their man to, like, realize that it's a different woman. Now we have the opportunity to try different women. I'm like, what the is this? Like,
they're terrible people.
It's awful. Everybody is awful.
Did you write down any major themes?
Or
things that you noticed in the book?
So something that I actually really liked in the book is how things are being talked about, because in the show, she talks about it as if she's, like, just talking to someone and telling them, like, this is what's going on. In the book, I kind of noted after the first few chapters that it feels a lot like slam poetry, and that it's very poetic in its writing, and it does a lot of wordplay. Like, June does a lot of, like, oh, this made me think of this, and then she'll think of that specific word, and she's like, this used to mean this, and Luke used to tell me that this means this, and then she'll, like, kind of spiral off into a memory from there, which makes sense. And there was a quote that I thought was really kind of memorable. It literally was like, in reduced circumstances, the desire to live attaches itself to strange objects. That I thought that was kind of really interesting, because she would fixate on random things and then just turn it into a memory.
Yeah, she spent like a good a few sentences talking about how she wanted a cat or any type of animal. Like, she's like, a rat would do.
Yeah,
like
and
anything.
And she was even like, it's just something that I think is really interesting, how Margaret Atwood just depicts like this woman's knowledge and like her thought process on everything that's happening, because I do feel like it is sort of like how Janine fully disassociates. It's June's way of fully kind of just like, I'm presently here,
Removing
but my
myself,
mind is not here, in order to keep her sanity for what's going on, because like,
which she literally talks about having to do that, especially during like the ceremony that they go through.
Oh my gosh,
she talks about how she will think about everything else. Like, she's like, she'll do that in the middle of the ceremony, like all of the time.
Yeah.
Another thing I thought was interesting with like the way the story was told was like, most of the time the dialogue was not in quotes, basically because she was just recalling like the way that things were said.
Yeah.
So it's like pointing out that this could be a completely unreliable narration of like what happened in that moment, but that's just her memory. So I thought that was super interesting. That was like, hey, this is like how I think it went down. And she even makes comments like, I tried to think of this like in Moira's voice, or like, this is as close as to Moira I could get, and like just like stuff like that, where I was like, that is so interesting. It really feels like somebody is just telling you a story that they just experienced, you know? There is one other, not theme, but a moment that I caught on to, because it really reminded me of the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it was when she flashes back to the time that she spent in like the Red
Center?
The Red Center. And she was talking about like basically how they would have this like therapy, and it was specifically talking about Janine. Again, another reason why I kind of felt for Janine. But it's like that time where she's talking about getting gang raped when she's a teenager, and everyone's like yelling at her like, your fault, your fault. That was like the moment for me where I was like, okay, I can't hate Janine. Like, I get why you do, because you're in the same situation as her, but me, like, not in that situation. I'm like, you know?
Yeah,
I feel bad for you.
I'm so curious, because even like the narrator was saying that she's like, it could have been made up a lot of the times if you didn't have a good enough story, that it was worse than not having a story at all.
But that's
I'm
the
like,
thing in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest too, was they made all the time, because that's like how it was. Like, there was a point in that book where they would like talk about like, oh, I said this, so then all these other people started trying to like one up me with their traumas.
Yeah.
So it was like, I feel like that was a thing that happened too, where it was like, yeah, let me just try to like be the worst so that I show the most growth almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what was happening, but it was like so crazy to see like the way that women just turned on each other in the snap of a finger.
So fast. Even when June goes to go to the hotel to go see the Jezebels, like she's like, I couldn't help but stare at them, where they were dressed in like lingerie or like cheerleaders outfits or whatever weird kink that these men were into. And she was saying that she's like, I couldn't help but kind of hate their bodies for how like exposed they were. And she's like, was there ever a time that I was so used to seeing women like this?
And then she was like, hell, I used to dress like that.
Exactly. Like, that's so crazy that she's been so like completely submerged in this like type of society that she needs to live in now, that she's like, I was never like that. And she's like, who am I kidding? I was like that. I used to wear things exactly like that.
I feel like that's another reason why we love her, is because she'll check herself.
Yeah,
and she'll do it. Yeah, she'll do it right in the middle. She'll be like, why am I saying that? Like, I definitely was this type of person. Like, why am I changing so much? So it has so much, like, we could probably go on for another like 45 minutes, but we won't do that to you.
Hopefully we can actually get to the second book. What is it? Testaments? Tenements? I don't remember.
I think it's Testaments.
It
because
could be
it's like, you know?
Yeah, but anyway.
Biblical.
The next one, I'm so excited to read that. I'm actually going to make Taylor also watch The Handmaid's Tale. So
yeah, we are.
She'll actually have a little bit more insight to that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Yay! Please let us know down in the comments what you guys think of it. If you watch the show as well, like, let us know what you think of the comparison between the book and the show, because again, I haven't watched it. Rayanne has. We're super interested in knowing what you think about it. But yes, please like this video, subscribe if you have not already. We have lots of really fun content coming out like all the time.
Oh yeah.
We're pretty consistent. We're here for you.
Heck yeah.
You'll be here for us.
We are
That
all
probably
here
looked creepy.
for all of you.
But yes, thank you guys so much for watching, and cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
I'm not gonna drink
Bye.
my drink because it was gross.
Don't worry, I will. Cheers, everyone.